Hello everybody, it is Knight, it is Brony time, and welcome back to Let's Play Dual Destinies. When we last left off, we finally got cut through Blackwell's testimony to get him to tell the truth of what he particularly saw. And it's not looking good. Athena, Edgeworth, and pretty much the entire courtroom is convinced that she did it. So now we have to kind of refute our client here and believe in them to the bitter end. I wasn't going to record another video, but I just need to know what happens. So there might not be any Gen 4 revisited, but I need to know what happened. It's like I'm in too deep into this game's story right now to stop recording. So I'm sharing it with you guys. So let's get right into it. So there's a chance this video might be longer than normal because I really want to get into the meat and bones of it. Or at least get through the rest of this part, so to speak. There might still be a memory that not even she knows about yet. Might be looking for a grain of sand somewhere in the cosmos, but still. That memory might contain a new fact that could prove her innocence. I hope for everyone's sake that you are not just bluffing, Mr. Wright. Now then, is there or is there not a problem with Miss Sykes' confession? Really? We're flashing back. Oh my god. This is worse than Explorers of Sky. It was 5 minutes ago! There's definitely something wrong with her memory of the event. I can just tell. If there's a problem with her confession, please prove it to this court now. Take that! Isn't that the katana the defendant used to kill the victim, Mr. Wright? I respectfully and vehemently disagree, Your Honor. But I remember it! I remember the whole weapon getting blood on my fingers. That's exactly my point. The blood really did get on your fingers while you were holding it. There should be blood on the handle. But please focus on the handle of this sword. There's not a trace of blood on it. And therefore, this is clearly a contradiction of the facts. You're right. Oh my! Objection! The defendant must simply be confused a portion of her memories. She mentioned it was hazy to begin with, and we can't mull over every minor detail. But she also said there's no question I remember it, a fact we can't ignore. In that case, why don't you explain what the contradiction with her memories means? Gladly. Just give me a sec to think of something. I want to say that Athena didn't stab anyone. She said it herself that she remembers the feeling of committing the act. Think, Phoenix, think! What could the contradiction with Athena's memories mean? Miss Sykes said blood flowed down the handle, but the katana's handle is spotless. So, doesn't it follow that the defendant must have used a weapon of other than the katana? What are you up to this time? This is it. This time I found just the thing to end Athena's nightmare for good. The weapon that took Dr. Sykes' life was the katana. That much is for sure. So if I could show a possibility that Athena didn't use the katana, it could help me prove her innocence. A different weapon, you say? What weapon would that be exactly? Right, of course he would ask that. I can see you're floundering, Mr. Wright. Did you speak without thinking again, as always? How did he do that? But I can't back down. Not here, not now. That's right, I did, because it's so obvious it doesn't require any thought. What did you say? Okay, so maybe that was an exaggeration. But there has to be something. Was there something other than the bladed weapon in the robotics lab that day? Maybe there's something in one of the crime scene photos. Wait a minute, there is something. There's a high probability that that was in the lab. I don't have that particular weapon here in evidence right now, but I do have a piece of evidence just like it. Other than katana, this is another blade that may have been at the crime scene. Take that! But that's some murder weapon in the Clay Turan case. Yes, this is a knife that took Mr. Tran's life, but there must have been a knife just like this at the scene 7 years ago as well. Toolkits containing utility knives like this one are issued to Space Center employees, and a robotics lab especially, and naturally have one of these around. But besides the katana, no other bladed weapon was found at the site. It was in the investigation report, if you didn't know.
Objection!
Of course I knew that, once you told me just now. Then there's something else you already knew. There was a toolkit at the scene, but it didn't contain any blades. Here's a photo of its contents. You're right, I don't see any kind of bladed tool. Fine, but isn't there something odd about the design on those handles? Therefore, there was no other bladed weapon in the room.
Objection!
It was taken from the room. I disagree. This toolkit contained a knife. What proof do you have of that? Don't tell me your eye for art is failing you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You are the last person in the world who should be criticizing my aesthetic sense. Now, you're simply watching out for your ocular health. Please proceed, Mr. Wright. Notice that the handles of each of these tools have a sort of design on them. I see that they do, but what significance does that have? It's clear that one of the tools is missing from this kit. If we rearrange the tools into a specific pattern, we might be able to tell which part of the overall design is missing. Is that the theory your pitiful sense of aesthetics helped you come up with? Edgeworth, just let it go, man. Show the court, then, if you would. What pattern or design would we see if we were to rearrange the tools? It includes a diagram of the boarding lounge across section. Aha! I see what it is. I see. Okay, yeah, it's probably this.
Take that!
And what design is this supposed to represent? The GYAXA logo, Your Honor. It's on all of the Space Center's documents and pamphlets. As you're aware, GYAXA, that's a horrible freaking acronym, is the program that operates the Cosmos Space Center. I think I see it now, but... Yes, but just the tool shown in this photo, the red A part of the logo is missing. And this is where the murder weapon for the Tran case comes into play. If we were to place the utility knife in the open slot, it completes the set. So there was a blade, it was just taken from the crime scene. It would complete the GYAXA logo. So it would! Then that means... Admit it, Mr. Edgeworth. My aesthetic sense is keener than yours. And while you're at it, admit that the weapon Miss Sykes used could have been this one. Oh! Order in the court! Miss Sykes confessed to having a memory of stabbing the victim. Admittedly, Miss Sykes most likely did stab someone, using the utility knife. However, the weapon used to kill Dr. Sykes was the katana. Therefore, the act of stabbing that Miss Sykes remembers couldn't be that of Dr. Sykes. Very well. Let's suppose for a minute that Miss Sykes did use the utility knife. Tell me, how does that change anything? Come again? What if the katana was only being used as a decoy to conceal the true murder weapon? What if the real weapon that took the victim's life was the utility knife? Don't be ridiculous, or you're changing the premise of your entire argument. I'm merely offering a hypothetical situation derived from your logic. Miss Sykes could have put the blood on the katana to make it look like the murder weapon, and then concealed the knife on a parsonage until Blackwell carried her away. It does clear up the contradiction between Miss Sykes' memories and the evidence. If, in fact, the murder weapon is a utility knife, then fate has dealt you a cruel hand. You have just proven the knife's existence to the rest of us with your own logic. The prosecution is attempting to lead the court. You're the one attempting to lead the court, Mr. Wright. by forcing us to forget the facts of this case. Need I remind you there were only 2 people in the lab at the time of the murder, and that the defendant herself recalls stabbing someone with their own hands. No. It matters not whether the murder weapon was a katana or a utility knife. As long as we know that the victim and the defendant were the only ones there, you cannot escape the fact that it was Athena Sykes who killed her own mother. I don't believe it. Why? Why does this keep happening? Every time I find a contradiction, it vanishes. The suspicion keeps coming back. It's almost as if... Now you're finally starting to get it. Your contradictions keep vanishing because the charge is true. And the suspicion keeps coming back to the defendant because that's where it belongs. Phoenix Wright, when will you open your eyes and accept the truth? Ah! I don't want to believe it. It can't be true. But what if? Mr. Wright, you fought a good fight. I think you've done all you can do. Is giving up really the only option? No. Snap out of it, Phoenix. What's the matter with you? Giving in to doubt. I can't look back. Forward is the only way to go. No, Your Honor. Not yet. It isn't over yet. Right. Can't lose sight of what's important. I believe in Athena and I'll always believe in her. To the very end. The defense lawyer never gives up on his client. If I have to pick myself up and stand firm, make that brain of yours work, Phoenix. If I don't see a way, I'll just have to go back and look for one. Time to rethink the case thoroughly. Uh-oh, here we go. I concede the fact that Athena must have stabbed someone with a utility knife. This must have been when Paco witnesses Athena's hug. Prosecutor Blackwell didn't see the knife at the scene. This means that someone must have removed it from the lab before he arrived. He could have taken the utility knife from the lab. If I had trust in Athena, then I have to conclude that there was a third person at the scene. But according to Paco's testimony, Athena and her mother were the only 2 there. So then how did the third person manage to escape Paco's detection? I know, this must have been fooled Paco's facial recognition feature by covering their own face. But wait a minute, Paco has a heartbeat detection too. Even if they covered their own face, Paco would still have detected their presence. But she wouldn't have been able to tell who they were. Wait, that's it! The culprit could have covered their face and posed as which person to avoid detection. Metis Sykes. If the culprit posed as the victim, that would explain why Paco thought only she and Athena were there. All they had to do was take advantage of Paco's basic facial recognition features. The culprit used this in order to pose the victim, her jacket. The culprit could have posed as the victim by wearing his jacket with the ID tag on it, but it still leaves the heartbeat detection system. How did the culprit get around that? It wouldn't have worked if Paco could detect the real Dr. Sykes' heartbeat too. Does that mean that the real Dr. Sykes was already dead by that time? If that's the case, then who did Athena stab? That's it! The person Athena stabbed wasn't Dr. Sykes. It was the person who murdered her and then pretended to be her. The real culprit. Now that Mr. Wright has finally finished thinking, let us bring this to a swift end. Please give us your verdict, Your Honor, so that we can move on to the hostage negotiations. You're absolutely right, Prosecutor Edgeworth. I hereby... I didn't say I was finished. I was only pausing for a second, because I realized something so shocking I had to take a break to digest it. But now I know for a fact that Miss Sykes is innocent. Ponko saw me. She witnessed the moment of the crime. Yes, Ponko did witness something. She saw the hug. In other words, the moment you used the utility knife. But the person you stabbed wasn't your mother. But what are you saying, Mr. Wright? The answer is simple. The person Miss Sykes stabbed was a third person posing as Dr. Sykes. What?
Objection!
Do you really expect us to swallow that, Mr. Wright? According to the robot's statements, there was no third person there. Did you really think I wouldn't see through your ludicrous grab for time? After all we've been through, Mr. Edgeworth, I'm disappointed. Don't you know by now that this smile of mine means I have absolute confidence? Ha! You make that pose all the time, regardless of the facts. Ponko's strange malfunction. That was another case of mistaken identity caused by a jacket ID tag. All because Klonko couldn't read Apollo's facial features due to that eye patch. Like Mr. Edgeworth said, a mask can nullify the robot's facial recognition, and then all the person would have to do is wear a jacket with the victim's ID tag to pose it. Sorry. Of all the ridiculous theories, what would a silly oh my god. What would a silly disguise like that do? Have you forgotten that the robot also has a heartbeat detection system? If there was a third person at the scene, the robot would have detected them. I'm sorry, Mr. Edgeworth, but that doesn't count for much, I'm afraid. Because, by that time, Dr. Sykes' height had already stopped. What? What? So does that mean... Yes, Your Honor, the person Miss Sykes stabbed... This third person who's posing as Dr. Sykes is her mother's real killer. But that's... Possible! A mask? The person I stabbed was wearing a mask? Order in the court. Miss Sykes, did you say something? A mask? Yes, I remember it. Athena? What is it? I remember a man with a mask. How could he... What did he do to my mother? My head. Miss Sykes, are you alright? The black psyche locks. They're breaking. It's all coming back to me. Everything that happened that day my mother was murdered. They're gone. The black psyche locks are finally gone. You didn't really stab your mother, did you? It's all right, Athena. Just tell us what you saw that day. I was drawing a picture. When I was done, I went to show it to my mom. I opened the door, and then, It's all right. I'm right here. You're safe, Athena. She was on the floor, by the workbench, with the katana sticking out of her. There was a handkerchief over her face, but I knew it was her by her clothes. And there was a man there. A man? Quiet, Your Honor. Go on, Athena. He tried to attack me. In a panic, I grabbed the knife that was there and... he dodged it first, so I only got his clothes. But I tried again. And this time you got him, didn't you? I did. I remember it clearly now. The knife went into the back of his hand. Then he kicked me and I passed out. When I came to, my mom wasn't moving. I had to do something. I had to fix her, I thought. So I asked Ponko to move her to the operating table. So I'm taking her apart to fix her. So that's why she said that. Your Honor, as you can see, the defendant has just given us critical new testimony. A man was there before Miss Sykes arrived. A man who covered the victim's face. And put on the victim's jacket. This man is the real culprit. Miss Sykes, do you have any idea who this man was? No, I'm afraid I don't. A few moments ago, Miss Sykes mentioned a mask. Athena, can you tell us anything else about that? Yes, the mask. It was my mom's Japanese theater mask. I think it was the one hanging on the wall of the lab. Ah, this mask hanging here on the wall. It's kind of spooky. That mask. My mom used to tell me that a gnome mask even has the power to turn an ordinary human being into a phantom. A phantom? It would seem that a new suspect has emerged. And that means that all suspicion against Miss Sykes is... You see, this is precisely why I can't trust the court system. Athena Sykes is the murderer. I won't accept any other verdict. Miss Blackquill, this is not good. A new suspect? Where's the proof this person ever existed? Who says it wasn't all just a dream in the little princess's groggy little head? She's right. We don't have any hard evidence of the masked man's existence.
Objection!
Thank you, Mr. Wright. I'll never be able to repay you for all you've done. But I'm fine now, because I can say with certainty that I didn't kill my mother. Athena, I'm so glad for you. More and more memories are coming back now. So I'd like to say one thing if I could. Ponko came to the robotics lab at about 2 p.m. to recharge. I see where you're going with this. If Mommy Metis was really the killer in disguise. Right. Then he must have come to the robotics lab before 2 p.m. Do I have everything in here in evidence that can help me find this person who came to the lab before 2 p.m.? The 7-year-old video.
Take that!
This is Prosecutor Blackwell leaving the scene after the incident around 3 p.m. What I'm wondering is, does this video show anyone else passing by before then? I don't see anything in the investigation report. Looks like they didn't check. Just as I thought. So if we rewind the footage and go back to around 2 p.m., we should be able to see the true culprit leaving the scene. Very well then, let's take a look. There. Please stop it right there. Just like you said, there is a man leaving the scene of the crime. Miss Sykes, do you remember this person? That's him. I'm sure of it. He was wearing my mother's jacket. Can you see it? It was a slasher made of the utility knife that day. Sorry, there's so many flashbacks I can't tell what's modern and what's past. And I'm sure that knife is under the jacket somewhere. So then, everything Miss Sykes said. Exactly. It proves that Miss Sykes' memory was correct. Dr. Sykes' killer arrived at the robotics lab before 2 p.m. He killed her and hit her face with a handkerchief. Then he disguised himself with Dr. Sykes' jacket and the masks that were there in the lab. The culprit probably knew beforehand that Paco charged up at 2 p.m. every day. So he waited for Paco to come to the lab for a regular recharge. By leaving Dr. Sykes' jacket on, the culprit tricked Paco into thinking he was Dr. Sykes, thereby making it look like she was alive up to that point in time. All to disguise the real time of death. It's a nice theory, Mr. Wright, but I'm afraid that is just not possible. What? Why not? The victim's jacket is clearly visible right there in the video. And that right there is precisely the problem. The ID tag on the jacket on the scene confirms beyond a doubt that it belonged to the victim. If the person who left the lab truly was wearing the victim's jacket, then how could it possibly have wound up back at the crime scene? What's going on? That doesn't make sense. Petra's right. If the culprit was wearing the jacket, how did it get back to the killer brought it back? The killer used the jacket as a disguise to make his escape, but in order to conceal the fact that he had to get the jacket back to the crime scene. So the culprit simply returned to the robotics lab later and planted it there. Contradiction resolved. Except that it would have been impossible. The only people who came to the robotics lab after the killer were Prosecutor Blackwell and the people who reported the body. And they claimed that the jacket was there when they arrived. So, when do you propose this mysterious man of yours had the chance to return the jacket? A puzzling question indeed. When did the culprit have the chance to bring the jacket back? When the body was found. The only time the culprit could have returned the jacket was when the body was found. Mr. Wright, do you realize the implication of that argument? I do. Most people, when they come across a murder, focus their attention on the body. The culprit could have taken advantage of the split second to plant the jacket. In other words, the true culprit of this case, the man known as the Phantom, was one of the first people to discover the body. I would never have thought of that! Order in the court! What is the meaning of this, Prosecutor Edgeworth? The body was discovered and reported by a group of 3 people. They were to collect the space probe's capsule in preparation for the HAT-1 launch. One of those people had a special bag to transport the capsule in. Oh, you mean the shock-resistant bag? Correct. I suppose that if the jacket was in that bag, it could have been returned to the scene of the crime without anyone noticing. I'll see to it that you get the reports on these people. You will? We should also check the facial recognition database for that robot. This person felt the need to hide his face with the theater mask. It might mean that his facial data was once registered. Prosecutor Edgeworth, does this mean? I have to admit, I believe Miss Sykes' memories to be credible. You win, right? Not that this was ever an official trial anyway. Do my ears deceive me? Prosecutor Edgeworth, are you really conceding? Is it true, boss? Does this mean I can't believe it. It's over, I won. I proved that both Athena and Prosecutor Blackwell are innocent. Your Honor, I see no need to further prolong this trial. Hold on, Mr. Wright. Have you forgotten who's in charge of this trial? That's right, I'm the one who's supposed to say I need no further prolong. Not you either, Your Honor. Now silence! Little princess who was truly beloved by Metis, and who repaid that love with death. All those years, hating Athena was the only thing that's kept me going. But what do I do now? Can anybody tell me? How am I supposed to go on? Miss Blackwell. How unlike you, or... Metis was deeply passionate about her work, and she chose you as a pastor. Isn't that... Shut up, Simon! You know exactly how I felt about her. Her respect as a coworker wasn't all that I wanted. Then what did you want from her? Did you really just go there, Your Honor? Aurora, there is something I've wanted to say. If you will lend me an ear. I have in my possession a lead on who Metis' murderer is. You do? Right, Dono. You asked me about the identity of the Phantom of 7 years past. That's right, the Phantom. person Blackwell's been looking for, even from behind bars. 7 years ago, somebody hatched a plan to sabotage the Hat 1 rocket. The spy. But he was no ordinary spy. We knew naught about him, his background, appearance. We came to refer to him as the Phantom. At the time, I was working with the police to hunt him down. And then one day a miracle occurred, and I obtained a lead on him. Oh, how exciting! What was the lead? A recording of the Phantom's voice, but the quality was too poor for proper voice analysis. Yet I had hope. Aurora's co-worker was a scientist who could analyze human emotions. So I asked her to evaluate the recording using analytical psychology, and that scientist was Dr. Sykes. Yes, a spy's greatest fear is to have his true identity discovered. In addition to Hat 1, Dr. Sykes' results in the recording were surely among his targets. But his search of the space had bore no fruit, so he must have started to panic. He couldn't find them, but where could they have been? Who is to say? Wow, I bet he's never let that out of his sight all these years. How in the world did you smuggle them into prison? Oh, I have my ways. What's more, my partner is especially talented at that sort of thing. I worked to lure the Phantom in by spreading rumors throughout the underworld. I was even granted permission to prosecute cases to attract the Phantom's attention. Just try to retrieve our identity, you bloody butcher, became my taunt. And what about the results Dr. Sykes drew up for you? Was there any useful information? Here, you can see for yourself. But take good care of it, it's all I have left of my mentor. I will. I better hold on to this real tight. Psychological profile classified. Emotional output of this voice extremely weak compared to typical voices. Subject deemed to have unique psychological makeup with almost no emotional fluctuation. No emotional fluctuation, huh? A spy who experiences no emotions. Not sadness nor anger. And naturally, no fear. He is the very definition of a phantom. A monster with no heart. Don't you see? The creature is the rot that destroyed our lives and set what ails us all into motion. The Phantom indeed. A fitting name for the one who has brought darkness to our world. Well then, seems a faint image of this man has started to take shape. Based on what we have learned, I'd like all of you to conduct further investigation. This is not a formal trial, but I do want to follow protocol. If I may, I'd like to hand down my verdicts and bring the proceedings to an end. Whatever. Do what you want. You'll hear no objections from me. Yes, please, Your Honor. It's over. It's finally over. Very well, in that case, Prosecutor Blackwell, could you please take the stand? As a result of this trial, your innocence has been proven. The verdict handed down 7 years ago is hereby overturned. And now, the defendant of the current trial, Miss Athena Sykes. Yes, Your Honor? Mr. Wright, thank you. Thank you for everything. Athena, you're more than welcome. If everyone is ready, I will now give my verdict. Objection! You? Apollo! What is the meaning of this? Congratulations, Mr. Wright and Prosecutor Edgeworth. You uncovered the truth from 7 years ago, and you saved Prosecutor Blackwell. However, I can't allow this trial to end just yet. Why, Apollo? Why would you do this to us? Well, luckily enough, the ending of that seemed to be just the perfect amount of time. So, yeah, I will indeed save right here. Wow. So, technically we found Athena and Blackwell innocent, but apparently Apollo knows something. And that's why he doesn't want the trial to end, I guess. But I made it to where I needed to go. I went a little extra overboard on the recording, since my voice can really only take so much recording of this. But honestly, I'm probably just going to go for a fourth one. Because I just need to know where this is going. But Until then, thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to Brony Time for more content, especially more Dual Destinies. Also, please make sure to share this video far and wide so everyone can hear me flub over my words and get as many eyeballs on this series as possible. I will see you next time.